Rio Cobre running, but it's red with shame. Bauxite's hunger, a deadly game.
Welcome to Rio Cobre Runnings. I am Kestanard Gordon. Thanks to our subscribers who have been very faithful in and supportive of this channel. We launched on Sunday, the 4th of August, and many of you have viewed, liked, and subscribed. Thank you so much. And if you have not yet done so, we are appealing to you to go, like, subscribe, and share. We need your support. For today's episode, I have prepared a chart that I believe will assist us in the process of identifying the sequence of the pollutions that the Rio Cobre has been subjected to for many years. This chart is indicating that we have not fabricated the many episodes of pollutions that this river has been experiencing. We have not fabricated the inconvenience to the communities. We have not fabricated the inconveniences. We have not fabricated the impact on the health of the citizens of these communities. And the primary objective of this chart is to show you one by one, year after year, the sequence of the pollution. In other words, we are not accusing anybody falsely. We just want you to understand the process that these communities that are located along the Rio Cobre are subjected to over many years of bauxite mining in Jamaica. In 1985, the Charlemont Stocking Pond in Yuatan, St. Catherine was built. Now this pond was built primarily with the objective to store the effluent that was discharged from the operations, from the production operations of the bauxite company. Later on, this stocking pond was removed lower down into the Charlemont community. And if you, at another point, we will show you the proximity of this stocking pond to the Charlemont High School, right up very near to the school. In the 1980s, a number of complaints started to emanate from the community. These residents started complaining that there were toxic discharges not only affecting the river but also affecting them in terms of their daily course of movements and activities. Firstly, their roofs started to rust. The smell of the substance that comes from the factory was also very disturbing. And some persons complained that as soon as it rains, you could see the rain would wash the dust from the air and it would settle on the asphalt or on the leaves. They also complained that they were losing some of their crops, primarily the orchards, the orange orchards, and they were finding it very difficult in relation to other plants like coconuts and so on. So really, you could see the demise of the community started in the late 1980s. Between 2011 and 2019, as a result of the pollution of October 2019, the Gleaner published a report which indicated that NEPA served 6 enforcement notices on Windalco. Why would NEPA choose to serve, of all the companies who operate up there, why would they choose to serve Windalco with 6 enforcement notices? One, it would have to be based on their investigations. And having served 6 enforcement notices, was that the only requirement? Was that the only mandate? Was it according to law that NEPA had? No. NEPA had several other options. NEPA could have, upon recognizing that Windalco was not following the instructions according to their permit, NEPA could have closed the company temporarily until they comply. They could have shut them down entirely, or they could have imposed sanctions on them. They could have also drawn down on the environment performance bond. But in each of those 6 cases, NEPA kept on serving enforcement notices after enforcement notices, which does not make any sense whatsoever, because what this is indicating is that NEPA has no teeth, right? And NEPA clearly is not following the law. NEPA has the option of prosecuting them under the Wildlife Protection Act. And in none of those cases, NEPA has chosen to follow the laws of Jamaica, to bring in and to rein in Windalco, to operational procedures according to their permit. In 2019, the fish kill was devastating. It was one of the worst toxic discharges that could ever be poured out on a community. It not only killed the fishes, the vegetation along the Rio Cobre was scorched. The hides of the fishes were burnt out. And I can tell you that this was brought out in the criminal prosecution against Windalco for 2019 by a scientist who examined those fishes. The scientist stated that the intestines of the fishes were liquefied, right, as a result of the severity of the toxic material that went into the river. The communities could not catch any fish. These are communities who depend very, very heavily on the river as a source of income. The community was devastated. The community could not bathe in the river. The animals could not drink the water. Several pigs died. Several cows died. Several goats died as a result of drinking the water in the October 2019 pollution. So they are based on what took place in 2019. There is a conditionality that is in the license for Windalco to operate, where they can release certain substances into the river of up to 4% of pH level. This becomes necessary if there is a build-up of the effluent in the holding pond, and so they were allowed to release it, but it was conditional. Firstly, NEPA had to be notified in writing. NEPA had to agree. NEPA also has to supervise the release of chemicals. However, in 2019, we had a drought earlier coming down from 2018, and the toxic chemicals started to build up. So Windalco applied to NEPA to get permission to release it, but NEPA refused on the basis that the level of the water level in the river was very low, so they could not grant permission to accommodate that request from Windalco. So in October now, we had a very heavy downpour of rain, and rather than waiting on NEPA to approve the release of those material that was being built up over all of those months, Windalco went ahead and released a lot of stuff into the river. And when the disaster struck and NEPA did their investigation, they found that the pH level in the river was 10 or near 9 point something or near 10. And that was what created the severe devastation in the river. So this matter is still before the court, being subjected to a lot of delaying tactics by the defense. They are in no hurry to try the case, and they use all kind of excuses. It again happened in the following year, which was 2021. Now for this one, NEPA did their investigating and concluded that Windalco was responsible for criminally releasing substances into the river, and therefore they were again charged under the Wildlife Protection Act. In August 2021, the Friends of Rio Cobre called for the establishment of an early warning system to alert communities at the first signs of river pollution. Now, this request came into being in the early part of 2024. They set up a system. Those of you who would pass Flatbridge, you go there and you see they put up a sign there with some phone numbers for you to call in case you observe any sign of pollution. But prior to that, we had set up our early warning system, consisted of a WhatsApp group for all the communities from Yuatan coming straight down into Portmore. And these people monitor the river daily and nightly also. So whenever there was any semblance of pollution, it would be placed in the group. We would be alerted. We would go immediately to the area and we would take pictures and call the relevant authorities. We'd call NEPA, we'd call fisheries, and we would notify Water Commission also, because it is very important that Water Commission be a part of this early warning system, because Water Commission extracts water from the Rio Cobre to supply Spanish Town, Portmore, and sections of Kingston. In 2022, after immense pressure, Windalco started the construction of a effluent holding pond. Now, this effluent holding pond was constructed within approximately 60 feet of the fence of the Charlemont High School. When we went to investigate and we went to the school, we had a meeting with the principal and other members of staff. They were unaware that it was an holding pond that they were building so close to the school. They had no correspondence from Windalco as part of an environment assessment. The only letter that they had indicated that Windalco had written to them requesting permission to set up a dust monitoring unit on the school's compound. even before the board could meet, Windalco had started to build the thing. On July 30, 2022, there was another fish kill. Windalco said that they regretted any inconvenience caused. This came in the Gleaner on June 30th. So it was a confession on their part that they are responsible for that pollution. Organizations in the country started calling for harsher penalties to be imposed on these companies for their violation, because under the Wildlife Protection Act, they can only be charged for $100,000, right? That's a maximum fine. At the same time, these companies are paying millions of dollars to ensure that they are not found guilty. August 2022, the government decided to draw down on the full amount for the Environment Performance Bond. This bond is an amount that was required according to the permit granted to the company. They were allowed to put these funds in an account at a commercial bank in Jamaica, so that in the event that there is an environment issue, that the government will draw down on these funds to rectify the situation. So it was not until 2022 that this bond was drawn down on. Now, bearing in mind that between 2011 and 2019, there were 6 violations that resulted in NEPA serving them 6 enforcement notices. There was one in another one in 2019, there was one in 2021, and there was one in August 2022. And all of those violations, the government did not draw down on the Environmental Performance Bond to restore any semblance of damage that occurred in the communities. They after much public pressure, they drew down on the bond in August. Now, this bond, when one would have thought that this bond would have been used to restore the communities, this bond was distributed to Water Commission, to NIC, which is the National Irrigation Commission, and to NEPA. They gave the fisher folk approximately 16 million Jamaican dollars out of the 771,000 US dollars, which was at the time equivalent to 115 million Jamaican dollars. So they only gave the fisher folk roughly $16 million to share up among 100 and odd persons, and the state agencies cash in on the opportunity to earn some funds for themselves. I don't know how it could be justified that Water Commission, NIC and NEPA could have merited so much of the National Environment Performance Bond. The government also issued a statement saying that they were increasing the Environment Performance Bond. Windalco objected, and we don't know up until this date how much the government has set for the Environment Performance Bond. And so everybody is in limbo. In August 2022 also, the government served an intention to suspend Windalco's environmental permit and license, right? That was an interesting scenario because they serve an intention to suspend. We don't, those kind of technicalities do not go down well with the average public.
From the mountains high, a river flows, a lifeline for the land, a natural pose.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with our latest content.
Rio Cobre crying, calling out in pain. but it's red with shame. Bauxite's hunger, a deadly